All right, thanks for having me, Jess, in this. So my name is Constable Bonnie Hodder. I'm a regular duty police officer here in Prince Edward Island. I have almost 16 years of general duty policing, and just recently, in the last 5 weeks, took over the role as the proactive recruiter for the RCMP in Prince Edward Island. Um, just a little bit about me. I am married to a member as well, and so the RCMP is a big part of our family and our lifestyle. A little bit about the RCMP in general. We're recognized around the world. We have more than 29,000 employees currently, 17,000 of which are regular members, so police officers, and the other 12,000 roughly are civilian members and support staff that work in our offices and support the frontline policing. Um, the RCMP is unique in the world as we are separated into different policing bodies. So we have federal policing, we have provincial policing, and municipal policing. Here in PEI, we have provincial and municipal, and some federal too, obviously. But most of ours is provincial policing, where we're out on boots on the road kind of idea. So we provide policing services to all Canadians and community policing under contract across the country, except in Ontario and Quebec, because they have their own provincial police forces. But we do have federal policing offices in those two provinces. We also have some international policing functions that we do, like peacekeeping missions, if that's something that is interest in your later career within the policing. So the strength of our police force lies with the people who want to serve and protect the communities in which we live. So the RCMP recognizes that our employees are our greatest asset. And so we deem it a priority to recruit qualified applicants from a wide range of backgrounds to better reflect our Canadian reality. So the diversity across Canada that's happening. So our recruiting looks at all aspects of that as well. Some of the basic requirements, even to apply initially for the RCMP, is that you have to be a Canadian citizen or be a permanent resident of Canada for the last 5 years. The next one, there's 5 different ones. So the Canadian residency, you have to be 19 by the time that you graduate. So you can apply when you're 18, but by the time that you graduate depot, you have to have reached your 19th birthday. You have to be proficient in English and or French. And if those are not your first official language, English or French, then there's some equivalency testing that can be done to get you up to speed to where you should be for that. Also possess a non-restricted driver's license. I know here in PEI, we have different restrictions on our driver's license. So you can't have any restrictions whatsoever. And also have a grade 12 high school diploma or equivalency. So if you're from another country, then we have an equivalency assessment that's done. Or if you didn't graduate high school here, then what would be the equivalent of like going to college and upgrading your GED kind of idea. There's also those are the 5 basic requirements even to get screened into the initial process. Other testing and requirements that are mandatory is to meet our health standards. So a full medical is done, psychological exam, vision and hearing, and meet the necessary level of physical fitness. So that's a big part of our job, being physically fit. Be prepared to carry a firearm and to use it if necessary, along with physical force. Be willing to spend 26 weeks, so 6 months at our training academy in Regina, Saskatchewan, and be willing to relocate anywhere in Canada. Because I mentioned that our police force is across Canada, could be posted anywhere across Canada. Now, with saying that, they do have, are able during training when you get to depot to put in your preferences where you'd like to be posted, and they will look at that based on operational needs. So for instance, if you wanted to get back to PEI, our number of police officers that we have is nothing compared to, say, Alberta and BC, because they are so large. So if you put in for PEI, chances are it's hard to say. It's all based on timing whether there be a position opening here for you to come back to. But if you put in for one of the Western provinces or Newfoundland, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, chances are that's where you'll be posted. In regards to the Northern Territories, they look at the cadet and determine if going to the north would be a good fit for you. So they will determine that, just because there's limited resources up in the north for you. And Ontario and Quebec, they're their federal policing offices only. So usually it's very restrictive to get in there. You have to do general duty and policing first, and then specialize and try to get into one of those sections. Also in Quebec, you have to be French, and in New Brunswick, certain places you have to be French as well. So it all just kind of depends. Another thing is being able to work shift work, including weekends and holidays. So those are some of the requirements throughout the process. Other things like a disqualifier would be got any kind of criminal background, or charges pending before the court, or charges that you haven't been received a pardon for. They'll look at the nature of the charge as well. So those are kind of just the standards, and the testing, some of the testing or recommendations. But how do you apply? So application for the RCMP is under the jobs.gc.ca website. It's the Government of Canada service that has all the government jobs on there, federal government. So jobs.gc.ca. And in the search, you just have to put RCMP police officer. So it's open all the time. There's no time end date to it, because we're always hiring. So that is the initial step. You go in there, make your profile, and answer some questions. The questions are basically based off the 5 basic requirements. And if you meet all of those, then you get screened in through to the next process. Now, that would require a series of tests and interviews and assessments. And it's just to allow the RCMP to verify a person's skills and background to ensure that you are suited to a career as to be a police officer. So some of the other steps along the way, a part of your application process would be to attend a virtual mandatory career presentation. I put them off here for PEI, and we also tag team with the recruiter in Newfoundland as well. So applicants from PEI can join their sessions and vice versa, because we deliver the same information. There's an online assessment that happens. There's a regular member applicant questionnaire. So the assessment itself, the online assessment, is done in your own home. You're given a link, and it's questions regarding, it's basically skill testing questions kind of idea. Then there's the regular member applicant questionnaire. So it's all the information about you that they require. It's like 30 some pages long. There's a suitability interview. They do background checks, where you've worked, where you've lived in the last 10 years. They check references, personal references, work references. And there is a potential to be polygraph tested. Not everybody gets chosen for that. So that is not done through my office here. It's done nationally. There's security clearance that happens at the very final stage, and there's fitness logs as well. So because of the nature of being a police officer, they want you to be fit before you go to depot, because depot is so stringent in the course load out there that they just want to be able to have you at a certain level before you go out there. So doing your homework before you get out there. So the RCMP set high standards for its police officers. So the selection process is stringent and demanding. So it requires the applicant to be very diligent with responding to emails, setting up appointments, just being very on top with getting paperwork in a timely manner, because that all delays. Your delay means there's delays with the processing end as well. If you need more information about all the steps, if you go on to rcmpcareers.ca, it'll give you information about all the particular steps and what's involved. So that's just to get you the applicant process. Once you complete all of that and you're successful, then you head off to Regina, Saskatchewan for where our training academy is. So all the police officers for the RCMP across Canada have trained in Regina, Saskatchewan. I was out there last week for meetings. It was my first time since I graduated almost 16 years ago. So I got to see some of the changes that has happened. So it was nice. Each Monday, there is a troop that starts their training. A troop consists of 32 cadets of various diversities across Canada that are in a troop, and that is basically your family while you're there for 6 months. And it depends, like if you're in English, then obviously a lot of our troops are all English, and they do offer them French once in a while, select troops. So what happens at depot itself has different aspects regarding policing. There's a applied police sciences, which is learning the criminal code and your rights, and for a person, how to give the rights to a person, and police defense tactics, fitness, firearms, driving, deportment of tactics, drill, and they do a lot of scenarios. So just putting you through scenarios as if you're out in the general policing world, to give you kind of a baseline. So what do we offer? So when cadets, through the process of all of the, say the medical, the psychological testing, that is all covered by the RCMP. The only thing that an applicant is responsible to pay for is the hearing and vision test, but everything else is paid for. We also pay cadets now an allowance of $525 per week. And in addition, it's free room and board. So the rooms themselves are pit style rooms. 32 of you that are in your troop are on the same floor in the same dorm, and they're separated by a wall and a curtain. And in regards to the board itself, the food, the mess hall is phenomenal. They have Red Seal chefs there that can accommodate any dietary restrictions. We also cover all your uniforms, your training course. So going out to depot is all covered. All the instructors, there's no cost. Your insurance, your travel to and from depot is all covered. It's all paid for, and any moving costs associated to your new detachment. So after you graduate, and the costs associated to getting you to where you're going, they do have some parameters to that as well. But for the most part, you can move you and your family to where you're going. The other, after you graduate depot, you're no longer on $525 a week. You start at $65,000 and change, and it goes up and it increases by increments from there. So at the 3-year mark, we'll say it increases at 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and then at 3 years, you're at a salary of $106,000. And then there's continual increases afterwards as well for seniors constable pay, or if you have to get a promotion, all those kind of things. Lots of overtime that you can increase your pay from there. In addition, the RCMP has a very sought after pension plan, and we also have great health and dental package for yourself and your family. So in regards to the fitness, we talked about that. Being fit before you go is a must. There is certain benchmarks along the way at Depot for fitness, and it's all related to tasks that we would do out in general duty policing. Also through Depot, there is benchmarks for each of your competencies as well, such as firearms for driving, for APS, which is your in class work, we'll say, like learning the criminal code. So those are kind of assessments that are happened throughout. And just kind of end it here in a minute. So basically, when you are to your community, wherever you're posted, police officers are looked at as role models and leaders in the communities by providing advice and guidance to people from all walks of life. Working could range from working with troubled teens, helping the homeless, working with concerned citizens to resolve a community problem, patrolling the highway and roads to keep them safe, and everything in between. With that being said, there is lots of opportunities after doing general duty policing if you want to specialize. And specializations could be anything from drug enforcement, commercial crime, immigration and passport offices, forensics, major crime, surveillance, undercover work, witness protection, international peacekeeping, indigenous policing. And the great part about the RCMP, it's all paid for. So if you want to enhance your skills in a particular area because you want a job advancement of some sort or get into a specialized section, then we pay for that as well. As Canada's national police force, the RCMP offers a great chance to experience different parts of the country and in different types of communities. So you go from Outport, Newfoundland, you could be in a big city out in BC, anywhere in between, or up in the northern communities. The RCMP is a door to a lifetime adventure across this great country. So I'd like to thank Jess and for everybody that joined here for me to provide some information about a career in the RCMP.